Hello, 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 and welcome. Welcome to our amazing workshop. My name is Magali Collyman Christopher, and I want to introduce you to our workshop leader today, Gretchen Suárez-Peña. Gretchen Suárez-Peña is going to be leading a workshop where our focus is, what is our focus today, Gretchen?
It's going to be on submission planning and management for the writer. We're going to be talking about submissions, tracking, all that good stuff.
Fantastic, fantastic. So I'm going to get off screen and Gretchen is going to take over. And we're going to be having some people joining us on Zoom Live with time. And they may be running late, but enjoy.
Awesome. Well, thank you all for attending today. Just some ground rules. I'm going to be talking at you for a while. If you do have any questions, you can put them in the chat. I will also have open for questions at the end. And if I'm going too fast, just, put it in the chat that I'm going too fast and I need to slow down. I have a problem with going too fast sometimes. It's a bad habit. And if for some reason I don't slow down, then, wave at me, unmute yourself, that sort of thing. So I specifically wrote down my notes so that I would try to slow myself down for that very reason. And like I said, at the end, we're going to have some time for questions. So I always like to start out a workshop with our learning objectives. So again, I just want to welcome you to today's workshop. And so the overview of what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be talking about how and why to keep track of your submissions and submission opportunities and where to find them. Google is your friend, but sometimes Google can be elusive. And so we're going to talk about specific places where you can find submission opportunities for your plays. This can also be for your screenplays. And also, if you're an actor or performer, there are also submission opportunities for that. I am going to be gearing this more towards the playwright, but some of these tricks and tips are for everyone. So, success can look a lot of different ways to you, but I think that one of the ways that we can track our success is to keep ourselves accountable on our journey. So, a little background on myself, on my submission journey. I don't have a theater background necessarily. I'm getting an MFA now in dramatic writing, but my background is actually in civil and environmental engineering. But I did that for a really long time. But theater has always been my passion. So I've been writing plays for a really long time, and I started writing again more seriously in around 2016. And that at that time, I really started taking writing a little bit more seriously. And in 2017, I learned about this opportunity called the Tampa Bay Theater Festival. I just heard it from a friend, and they were like, "You should submit." And so that was my first foray into submission, was in late 2016, early 2017 for the Tampa Bay Theater Festival. And I was lucky. I got selected. Um, After that, that was the only time I can say I did one submission and I had one acceptance into a submission opportunity. After that, it hasn't been like that. But I got lucky and it was a great opportunity to be part of that. And after that experience, I started looking for other opportunities to submit to things. And I was writing all of these plays. I was having people come over and read them, but I really wasn't doing anything with my work. And as many of you know, getting a production of a play on its feet can be difficult. So I started talking to some local theaters, and a lot of local community theaters like to do some of the mainstream stuff that's done on Broadway. They don't always, do kind of new works. Some of them do, but a lot of them don't. So I just tried at that time to submit to as many opportunities as possible. I used to be the type of person that submitted to everything. Oh, I think there's something in the chat. Yes. I oh, yes, participants, if you are here, please come on screen so I can see your beautiful faces. Um, do not be shy. I want to see your faces. I think, who do we have here? We have Othello and Diana. Feel free to come on screen if you want to, so I can see your face, and we can have a dialogue. So yeah, so basically at that point, I started to submit to a bunch of different things. I'm not the type of person that submits to everything now. I'm going to talk a little bit about that. And I've learned some things about what submission fees, some places have a submission fee and what actually qualifies as a worthy submission. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. But basically, for the past 7 years, I've been tracking my journey on a spreadsheet. And I will say, like I said before, 2017 was a fluke. It was a one submission, one acceptance opportunity. That hasn't been the case since then. And I've submitted to a lot more, but I've been keeping meticulous track. So I want to get right into that of how to keep track. Is there anybody else who has joined us? I see JR. Yeah, let me just give you a moment. Please come on screen. I see we have JR joining. So please come on screen about because I'm gonna share my screen as well. We're gonna look at a spreadsheet that I have. So yes, Conch Shell Production members, please come on screen. We want to see you. Diane and Othello and JR. I'll give you a moment to come on screen here. Oop. So I know that some people don't always have great connection, but if you feel free to come on screen. So let's start with first things first. Why should we submit and why keep track of our submissions? First of all, everyone knows that you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. So you should actually be keeping track of things that you're doing to keep yourself accountable. Oh, great. There's Othello. Hi, Othello. Hey, good to see you. So Othello is a writer of Conch Shell Productions, and JR is coming on screen. All right, we see you. I need to lower your camera there, JR, so we can see more of your face. There you are. Awesome. So, yeah, everybody knows you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take. So you want to keep yourself accountable for the submissions that you're making. And if you don't write your goals down, you're not going to achieve them. I know that sounds kind of rough. I always say you got to write your goals down. Yeah, Othello agrees. And I believe in setting goals to keep yourself accountable. I believe in setting SMART goals. SMART. SMART goals. Specific, measurable, attainable, like they need to be achievable, relevant to what you're doing, and time-based. SMART, specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based. Time-based is super important because submissions have deadlines. They have notice dates of when they let you know when events are happening, and there's usually a time frame of the event or production is happening or festival is taking place. So, and also time-based because you need to know when to follow up and check for results. So I'm gonna say that a lot of times people are just gonna blindly throw submissions out into the world and they don't keep track of them and they don't know if they should follow up or check for results. Sometimes a lot of these results for competitions and festivals are posted publicly first. So you might want to check the organization's Facebook page. Let's say you put in a submission. You might want to check an organization's Facebook page or website to see if they've posted their results. But in most cases, you won't need to follow up. The only time you may need to follow up with a submission is if it's directly connected to a theater where you've had contact with a literary manager or an artistic manager where they want you to follow up with them after a bit of time, but you don't necessarily. I'd say about 99% of the time, they're going to let you know. But sometimes you do need to check their public forums because um, they said, oh, hey, we're going to get back to you in 6 months and you haven't heard from them in 6 months. You want to go check and maybe you need to send them an email. So, other reason why you need to keep track of your submissions because theaters are keeping track of you. These submission opportunities, yeah, that's right. I saw your eyes get big. Submission opportunities are keeping track of you. Um, and this is the inside gossip, the inside scoop on that. So I went to the O'Neill this past summer. I don't know if you guys know what the O'Neill is, but I like to call it Disneyland for playwrights. And I was an observer playwright for residency there. And when I was there, I actually got to be there because of an award I got at the Kennedy Center. So sometimes these submission opportunities, if you get into one, it leads to another. So because of the Kennedy Center, I was able to go to the O'Neill and we were talking to the literary manager. And the literary manager met with us and she told us, she says, theaters are keeping track of you. They know when you've submitted to their festivals. They have a database that they put your name in. They put what play you've submitted. They look at any information that other people have put about you. Like they'll look back and they'll say, oh, Gretchen has submitted to this festival 3 years in a row. What did other people say about her? And some judges will put things like, oh, we really like this piece, but it didn't move on because of this reason. And they can track your progress. So you should keep track of your progress because these theaters are keeping track of you. And there's other reasons why you should also keep track of your progress in these theaters that I'll talk to you about in a little while, particularly about the fact that if you are going to be repeating submissions to these organizations, you want to know what you've been submitting to them so that you don't repeat things that you've already submitted to them. But I'll talk about that a little bit later. So they know what you're doing, and you want to keep a note as if these opportunities are annual. Keep a running list in a notebook along with the spreadsheet that I'm going to show you today. So we're going to take a little bit of a side turn and we're going to talk about math, which I know some people don't like, but math is my favorite thing besides writing. And I know I'm bouncing around a little bit, but I'm kind of touching on these subjects because these are all different aspects of submissions, and I want to get some of these things, ideas out of the way, so when I talk about them, you'll understand them when I bring them up in my spreadsheet. So one of the things that I keep a track of is my rate of return per year. So what does that look like? So my rate of return per year is based on the number of positive responses that I've had over the number of submissions I've done for that year. So there's a formula for this. It's a fraction. It's positive submission or positive responses divided by number of submissions. So let's say that in 1 year I submitted 80 different opportunities, right? And let's say out of those 80, 20 came back as positive responses. 20 over 80, that's a fraction, that's 1/4. If we multiply it by 100%, that's 25%. It's 0.25. 20 divided by 80 is 0.25 times 100% is 25%. So another example, let's say I've done 100 submissions that year and 15 came back positive, then that's 15%. So looking at my rate of return, yes, I don't have the formula on my screen. I do have this. I can put it in the chat though. It's if I had like a little marker, I could write it. But basically, oh, a YouTube room. Okay. Um, let me write this out. So we have positive responses divided by submissions times 100%. So I'm going to share my screen here so you guys can see it. And then you guys can see it real nice and big. So just give me a quick moment here. There's a couple of different ways that you can do this. You can put it as a fraction or you can put it as a percentage. So let me share my screen. Hopefully you can see that. Whoop. So positive responses, positive, let me spell that correctly. Positive responses over submissions times 100% equals your rate of return. So like I said, if I had 20 positive responses over 80, that's 1/4, right? Or 0.25. If I multiply that by 100, not really percent, but by 100, then that'll give me my percentage, which is 25%. That's how you calculate rate of return. Positive responses divided by number of submissions times 100 gives you your rate of return. So every year I calculate my rate of return. So I'm going to show you guys that in a little while on my spreadsheet. But the reason I bring this up, I'm going to stop sharing for a second. Everybody got that? You can take a snapshot of it if you want to. I'll give you a minute. Positive responses over number of submissions times 100 equals your rate of return. Great. I can bring that up a little later as well. So the reason I talk about rate of return is because that is a great way of tracking your progress year after year after year. So some of you may follow me on social media. I am Notoria, thank you, Othello, on my Facebook because I'm old. I always, every month, oh yes, I will define positive responses. That's my next part. Um, I put every month I put the number of submissions that I put in that year, the number of positive responses, the number of negative responses, and the ones that I'm waiting for. And I put my rate of return for that year. So let's talk about what is a positive response. And your definition may be different than my definition, but I'm going to give you what I think a positive response is. Did I get accepted into a festival or competition? Did I get a response from a query letter? For example, if I got accepted into a festival, if I got accepted into a competition, I consider that a positive response. If I put in a query letter into a theater, and a lot of times those are in the form of I'm giving you 10 pages of my manuscript and a query letter, and they responded and said, we'd like a full draft of your script. I consider that a positive response because they want to hear more of my voice, they want to read more of my work, and they've reached out to me directly. That's a positive response to me. What's another positive response? Hey, you're a semifinalist or a finalist in our competition. We haven't made you an official selection, but you are a semifinalist. You are a finalist. You're going into the next round. That's a positive response for me. Sometimes I get a positive response and I can't participate in the festival or competition for whatever reason. Maybe it conflicts with something else. Even if I can't participate, it's still a positive response. The response was positive. Basically, to me, if it wasn't a rejection in the sense that they didn't respond in accepting me or they sent me a rejection, I consider it a positive response. I got an interview for an opportunity. That's a positive response. So this is when I'm framing the idea of what we're tracking our journey and submitting, you need to come up with that definition for yourself of what's a positive response for you. To me, acceptances, direct responses to query letters, semifinalist, finalist placement, even if I don't get officially selected for that competition, but I was a finalist, that's a positive response. Um, Definitely, because a lot of those are very, very competitive. So being in the top, 15% of the ones that submitted is positive response. So with that idea, I'd like to talk about reframing rejection, right? So a closed door, that cliche, a closed door means that another one will open or a window will open. And so the way that I've defined positive response is in what Gretchen believes is a positive response for her. So what is a negative response? A negative response for me is, hey, you didn't get picked. That's the standard email that says, thank you very much for submitting your play, but at this time it's not the right fit for us. We received, 500 submissions and yours didn't continue on to the next round. That's fine. That's a rejection. That's a negative response. I put that away, right? Um, but I want to start reframing this because I've seen a lot of people who they don't want to submit to things because they're afraid of getting rejected. They're afraid of getting that standard email of we're sorry, but you submitted at this time, but we can't accept your work. But the thing is that rejection is part of the game, and you need to be in the game to play. And you can definitely feel your feelings. You're allowed to be upset if you get rejected, but we all get rejected. And I think that the more we submit and the more rejections we get, the thicker skin we get. And we really have to start reframing rejection or negative responses as, hey, maybe my play wasn't the right fit this time around. And that could be for a bunch of reasons. It's very competitive, obviously. They might have liked my work, but maybe they were really looking for a comedy this year. Or maybe my voice is a little bit too realistic and they were looking for something more experimental. That's fine. You know, my work is not for everybody. I'm not going to be accepted into every competition or festival. Actually, it's a good thing that we're not accepted to every competition or festival because then we'd have no time to do the actual writing. Um, and like I say, I'm not pizza. I can't make everybody happy. And even then, some people don't like pizza. But my work is not going to be for everyone, which is totally fine. So again, that cliche, when the door closes, another one opens. Every no is a step to a yes, and every no will get you to the next yes and will help you grow. So to summarize that little section, why should we submit? We should submit to keep showing up, to put our stake in the game, to keep playing the game. And why should we keep track? To keep ourselves accountable And because these theaters are tracking you, so you should be tracking what you're doing and what they're doing so that you can have a basis for what's happening every year. So cool. I'm going to take a moment here to breathe. I don't know if there's any questions. Let me check the chat. Um, yes. Qual Define positive response. No new questions. Okay. Did that answer your questions about what a positive response is? Cool. Great. Yeah. And like I said, that's a very personal, for some people, a positive, like for me, being a semifinalist or into something, but not maybe getting a full selection is still a positive response. For some people, that isn't. For some people, they're like, oh, well, I was just a semifinalist. I didn't get in. So it's a negative. And I'm like, that's your definition. My definition is I got to the next round. So really, it's a personal definition. And to me, that semifinalist, that finalist ranking is a win for me. So great. All right. Let's start talking about spreadsheets. I started out with math, and now we're moving on to the big event. Spreadsheets, my friends, spreadsheets are your friend. They are your friend. Excel is your friend, and Google Sheets is free. Um, if you have Gmail. So in the way that they say in the song in Mulan, let's get down to business. Um, if you have a Gmail account, you can use Google Sheets for free. It is online based. If you have Excel, or if you have, I'm not sure what the Mac um, version of Excel is, but basically, spreadsheets are your friend and can be utilized for a bunch of different things. And I know that they can be scary. I will say my background is in engineering, but I love spreadsheets. Um, and the reason I think that spreadsheets are a great way of tracking your submissions is because you can really categorize things into the columns and rows. Um, a lot of people are just throwing submissions to the wind and going, "Oh, I don't know. Like I just submit it and I just forget it." Sure, sometimes it's kind of nice to just send it and forget it. Um, I don't look at my spreadsheet every day, um, but I don't just submit it and forget it. I put it on my spreadsheet because I don't have to remember because my friend, the spreadsheet, is remembering for me. So it's a way of keeping track without making yourself crazy. Um, and again, if you're going to get the email that's saying that you were accepted or rejected, I can go back to my spreadsheet and I can annotate whether it was a positive or negative response. And I do a color coding method, which I'll talk about in a little bit. But then I move on with my life, right? If I get an email that says I was accepted to something, I might be like, oh, that's great. I don't remember. Like, I have no idea. What did I actually submit? There was one time that I received an email that they were like, thank you for submitting this play. And I went back and looked at my spreadsheet and I was like, that was 2 years ago. And this happened actually, I shouldn't say that this literally just happened 2 weeks ago. I got an email response for a short play that I had submitted 2 years ago. And they were like, we'd love to do it as a reading in 2 weeks. And I went back in my spreadsheet. I was like, this was 2022 that I submitted this, January of 2022. And 2 years later, they came back. But if I hadn't had that spreadsheet, I wouldn't have remembered. So I don't have to remember because my spreadsheet remembers. Um, the other thing that the spreadsheet helps me do is track time. There are some places, like I said before, that will not inform you that you've been rejected. They usually will contact you if you've been accepted, but if you haven't gone to the next phase of the festival, they don't tell you. So when I look at my spreadsheet and I say, hey, I submitted to this opportunity 9 months ago and I was supposed to get a response, within 6 months, I can call that a rejection, move on. It's a great way to track time. Um, Also, it's a great way to keep track of what did they say in the submission process. Did they say there was going to be money? Did they say there was going to be a production? Did they say there was going to be a reading? You can put in the notes in your spreadsheet and go back and check, because if they offer you X and you're like, wait a minute, you're offering me X, but in your submission information, because I wrote it down, it said that you were offering Y, you can keep notes in your spreadsheet. So that being said, I am going to share my screen. I'm going to share my screen with you guys. And I'm going to like go around with the spreadsheet. So share. All right. Can everybody see that? Yes. All right, great. So this is just a blank tab on a spreadsheet. You can kind of see down below where I have my different tabs. I'm calling this one sample because I want to show you guys what I'm doing. Here, let me straighten out my 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 notes here so that I have two screens, so I'm doing a little bit of double duty here. Give me just a quick moment here. Ah, can you guys see my notes? Is that what's happening? There we go. All right, cool, cool, cool. I'm just gonna be reading here along with following along with my spreadsheet. So you'll see I have these columns, um, and they each have a different title. So first things first, you can modify this any way that you want. Obviously, the great thing about Excel is you can change the way that the columns look. You can change the depth of the rows. You can merge things. There's a lot of different fun tricks. I'm not going to show you all those fun tricks, but take a class on Excel. It's fantastic. Um, the first thing that you want to put is what you're submitting. So I put play here, but it could be something else, you know? So you can even title this what I'm submitting, right? It could be a play. It could be a query letter. It can be an application to to a residency. What are you submitting, right? What is the actual tangible thing that you're submitting, right? And when it's a play, you want to put the title of the play. So I'm going to put Across the Atlantic. This is the title of the play that I am submitting, right? All right. The next thing you want to do is the submission or opportunity. This is the new play festival at I'm making something up, Central Florida Theater. Great. This is a festival at a theater. That's a submission opportunity. You want to make sure you have that information in there. Sometimes there's a website. You can put a hyperlink in here to put the website information in so that you know where that's going. Next, location. Why is this important? Well, sometimes because it might be a virtual situation, right? Where you don't actually have to physically attend, which is actually pretty great. You can be in the comfort of your own home and you can do that festival. Um, or it may be in Orlando, Florida, and you need to know this. Why do you need to know this? Like I said before, some things are virtual, like in the post-COVID era and pre-COVID era. Even in the pre-COVID era, there were a lot of things that you could do virtually or online. And sometimes, like I said, that can be really great because you don't have to leave your home. The other reason why you want to know where this is happening is because sometimes things are regionally specific. So, for example, I have seen a lot of opportunities where you have to be a resident of Minneapolis, Minnesota to register for that event. Or you have to be from Orlando, Florida to register for that event. Things are very specific to that location. So if you're not from that location, you might not be eligible for that event. So putting the location is important, especially if it's applicable to you. The other reason why location is important is it going to require travel? So if I'm putting in a query letter for a theater X, and it is in Los Angeles, California, and they are requiring that I be there for rehearsals, I may not be able to go there because let's say they're not providing a stipend. Well, I might not be able to afford that. Or if it's in Los Angeles, California, and they're saying, hey, we're requiring you to be here for rehearsals for a week. We're going to provide a travel stipend for you to be here, but we can't provide housing accommodations or vice versa or whatever that they provide. Usually you probably want to stay away from places that don't want to offer any kind of stipend or, accommodations. But you need to know, can I flip the bill for that? Are they paying me to go? Is this an opportunity that I should even consider because I'm not planning to be in California anytime soon? Locations are important because of travel. The other thing that why locations are important is because, and I hate to say it, but it's true. Sometimes things look better on your resume when they are from bigger cities than they are from smaller cities. Doing things in New York or LA can sometimes look really, really great. No offense to like Paducah, Kentucky, but like maybe that's not the festival you want to be part of. Although I have done some really amazing things all over the country in small theaters that I really, really love. But usually they haven't required my presence, so haven't had to travel. So just saying location's important because it determines what you want to do. Do you want to travel? Do you want to do your stuff in Washington State? Location, location, location. It's important for real estate and it's important for your submission process. But again, some of these bigger competitions in these bigger cities can be a big thing. The next thing, when did you submit? So let's say I submitted this. Today is March 30th. I put in the date. That's when I submitted. Okay. This is important because then you can go back to your spreadsheet and go, hey, it's been 9 months and I haven't heard from them. I guess that's a rejection. Moving on with my life. The other thing is it'll remind you to look back at any public forums to see if they've posted any of their announcements for that. Now, I'm not going to lie, there was a time where I submitted to something and 6 months later, I actually looked on their Facebook page and they had announced the winners. And I was actually one of the winners. And I didn't realize that because they didn't contact me for like another 2 weeks after that. So again, public forums, like I said before, sometimes they will announce publicly before they even send you an email, which is weird to me, but that happens sometimes. It's a little wild. All right, moving right along. Oops. Your notice date. When are you going to expect notification? A lot of times they will tell you, they're going to say, hey, you're going to be notified by June 1st of this year. So put it in there. Sometimes it's very vague. They'll say summertime, summer of 2024 is when we're going to let you know. Okay, well, if it hits September, then you know that that didn't happen, right? Sometimes they're like the end of the year. Put that in there, whatever they say. But a lot of times they are more specific. They'll say, hey, the deadline for this submission process is going to be April 1st. You're going to find out by June 1st if you've been selected. And the date of the festival is going to be September 1st of this year. So that's why I put these 3 dates in there. Again, the spreadsheet helps me keep track of time. Now, let's talk about cost. I'm actually going to stop sharing for a second because I want to look you in the eyes and tell you about cost because a lot of submission opportunities are free, but also there are some that have costs. So here's my little rant. Free is always good. And I strongly recommend that you don't submit that you do submit to things that are free and don't submit to things that cost a lot of money. There are thousands and thousands of opportunities, and most of them are free. So take advantage of those free submission opportunities. Playwrights don't make a lot of money, so save your hard-earned dollars for when it really matters. Now, when does it actually make sense to pay? Sometimes festivals or competitions or opportunities are really, really frank on their website. They'll say, hey, we have a submission fee of $10, and this $10 goes towards paying our readers because we believe in paying them a fair wage, and we have, 10 readers that read, 500 submissions, and it's a lot of work, and they're giving of their time. So part of that $10 goes to that. Or they'll say something like, hey, this $10 goes to pay for printing costs because our readers prefer to read printed scripts. If you don't want to pay the $10, please just mail us a hard copy of your script. All right. Sometimes those can get a little weird, but at least they're being very honest with what they're using their money for. And they're being very specific about what that cost is covering. When it doesn't make sense to submit, when they don't tell you what that submission fee is being used for. I've seen many times where they're like, hey, our submission fee is $25. And if you win first prize, we're going to give you $100. And we're going to cap the submissions at $300 or 300 submissions. Okay, quick math. $25 a pop for 300 submissions is $7,500. and they're going to give one winner $100, what are they doing with the other $7,400? I know that was like a lot of math at you, but yeah, Othello, you get it. What are you doing with that money? I've seen other places be extra ridiculous and say $25 for a submission fee. We're not going to pay for the playwright. We're not paying for the actors. You have to self-produce if you get selected. And we're capping the submissions at 1,000. Like that's $25,000. And you're asking the playwright to self-produce their play and to pay for their own actors. Sometimes there are literally theater companies out there that either because of ignorance or worse, because they're greedy, they're grifting playwrights of their money. Now, I'm not going to say that of all theaters and all festivals because a lot of them do things right, but if it smells fishy, it's probably fishy. So don't submit to them. Um, I've also learned a lot from the Dramatists Guild, which I will talk about in a little bit. But the Dramatists Guild is really against submission fees for festivals. And whenever those festivals or competitions don't pay their playwrights for use of their script, sometimes they will. I've seen competitions. Actually, I will tell you a story. I submitted to a competition. I was selected, and they told me that I was not allowed to be in the room during the rehearsals. They were going to pay the director and the actors, and I had to pay for my own travel to get to the competition. And I said, no, thank you. And I pulled my script. I did still count that as a positive response, but I still pulled that script and I informed the Dramatists Guild because that was violation of the Dramatists Guild Bill of Rights, which I'll get into a little bit later. Dramatists Guild is amazing. But again, there is a time and place when submission fees make sense, but there are a lot of times when it doesn't make sense. So just be aware of what they're offering because a lot of times it feels like they're funding their company with these submission fees. So that's my little mini rant. That's Gretchen's rant on fees. Um, but again, 9 times out of 10, these submission opportunities are completely free. There's thousands of submission opportunities. You don't have to spend a lot of money to send your work out. So I mentioned the Dramatists Guild. If you are a Dramatists Guild member, a lot of times the submission fees are either reduced or eliminated. They'll say it on their website. They're like, send us a copy of your Dramatists Guild member card and your submission is free, or you get a 50% discount and you only need to send us $5 or whatever, which is totally doable. Now, I'm a Dramatists Guild member. If you are not and you are eligible to become one, I highly recommend it for a couple reasons. Number one, those reduced costs of submission fees, but also the Dramatists Guild has a lot of opportunities for you to submit plays. And the way that you become a member, you can go on their website, but you have to have had a production of a show. And there are different levels of becoming a member. And access to the Dramatists Guild lawyers is worth its weight in gold. So if you're not one, become a member. Now, this is only for playwrights or librettists or lyricists. This is not for screenwriters. Screenwriters, that's the Writers Guild. That's a whole other ball of wax. But if you are eligible to become a Dramatists Guild member, I highly recommend it. So that's my rant on submission fees. Now, I will go back to the spreadsheet now because there's more to look at. So let me share my screen once more. I just wanted to talk about that in terms of cost because I always put that in my spreadsheet of what the costs are going to be. So let me share again. All right, so we're on this column. Cost of submission, free. Love it. We love free, right? Now, the comment section. You can write anything in the comment section. What is being offered, production, a reading. I might say here, a stage reading, right? Stage reading with dramaturg support, something like that, right? I might want to put here, do I need to cover my own travel expenses? Do they provide a stipend? Have I submitted to this opportunity before? Maybe what have I submitted before to this opportunity? Do I know the literary manager at this theater? Do I know the artistic manager at this theater? Have I worked at this theater before? Anything you want to put in the comment section. And of course, like I said, you can customize your spreadsheet to look however you want. You can add more columns, more things that are important to you. If you're an actor, maybe there's something you want to put in here that could reflect what you need to know as an actor. So, how are we doing? Cool? Thumbs up? Awesome. Great. So let's move on because now I'm going to really show you my spreadsheet. So, like I said before, I have basically going back from 2018 until now. I'm going to show you 2023. Whoa, that's a lot of red. So, what is going on with all of this highlighting and color coding? Um, I'm glad you asked. So, red is for rejection, which is an alliteration, red rejection. But red is also my favorite color. So it makes me feel a little better when I see all that red. It's like, it's fine. Red's good. So as you can see in 2023, if I scroll down all the way, now I do have some white on here, and this was actually an opportunity that I submitted to, but then I actually withdrew because I wasn't going to be eligible for the time period. And they had contacted me about it. So it was a separate thing. But so red is rejection. That is a lot of rejection, right? But that's okay because if I got accepted to all of these things, I would have zero time to do any actual writing. Now I get into some other colors. Blue. Blue to me is an acceptance. It's a positive response. It's an acceptance into a production opportunity, a festival, a competition. It's an acceptance into an award. That to me is an acceptance. It's a solid positive response. Now, you'll see that some of these, I'm going to make this a little bigger. You'll see that some of these have purple text. What does the purple text mean? I have it underlined and I have it italicized. And the purple text to me is not only was I accepted to this opportunity, but I placed, or I was an official selection. So, for example, I have a show called The Saga of Peaches and the Black King, which at the South Texas Latinx Play Festival in Texas last March. I was a semifinalist, so I placed. I got a certificate and everything. It was great. And in this, I was for the Playwright Center. I applied for the Core Apprentice program. I didn't get it, but I was a finalist, so I placed. So anything where I have placed or become an official selection, I put in purple text. That's just like even more of a boost for me. It's like that's a double win in my book. And then what is green? Well, this green is very special to me. Green is if I was in a festival, I was accepted, and not only did I place, but I won overall. So last year, I was selected for the Tampa Bay Theater Festival for my solo show, Searching for Abuelo. I was one of the 6 official selections, and I won overall. Huge. Green for let's go. So that's what I have for green. And then I have yellow. What is yellow? Yellow is a positive response, but that for whatever reason, I didn't get to participate. For example, I was selected for a conference in Alaska where, it's a competitive situation where not everyone gets selected, but I can't attend. So I had to say I'm sorry, but I can't attend. But still a positive response because I got selected. Or I got accepted into something and or a query letter went through. Or I got some special like responses. Like for instance, there was this play, the same play, Peaches and King, also in Texas, actually. They told me that they liked my play so much that they wanted to talk about further opportunities with it. They were interested in doing a separate virtual reading outside of the festival. Positive response for me. I'm like, hey, you liked my play enough to like respond personally to me? I'll take that. So really, when I look at my positive, I'm looking at the blue, I'm looking at the green, I'm looking at the yellow. These are all positive responses for me. And then for white is wait. I'm still waiting on response. Now, chances are probably all of these will end up being red at some point, which is fine, but I'm still waiting for them to figure out whether or not they got selected. As you can see here, I have my rate of return, my ROR, which if you can see here, I don't know if I can make that a little bit bigger, but I don't think I can. But there, I have 95 submissions in 2023. I got 20 that were positive responses. 20 over 95 is a 21.1 rate of return. That's what I have. So this is my highlighting tactic. You can come up with your own. Maybe you hate the color red. Maybe you want to do something else. Maybe you want all rejections to be black, whatever. all rejections to be white, whatever you want to do. But this is my way of keeping track of what responses I have gotten. Um, so sidebar on submissions before I move on. I'm going to take you through a little journey through Gretchen's spreadsheet. So the first thing I want to show you is I do have this annual rate of return spreadsheet that has that calculation. 2018, I did 33 submissions. I got 3 positive responses. The rest were complete rejections, 30 rejections. My rate of return was 3 over 33, which was 9.1%. 2019, I did 16 submissions, half as many, but I got 2 positive responses. So that rate of return went up. So that's the thing, is your rate of return is really dependent on the number of submissions that you do. 2020, I went insane and I did 179 and I had 22 positive responses, and then it went up. Then I created kind of a periphery column of like when I got any awards or payments or when I had any productions or readings, that sort of thing. But what I want to show you is every year I've gone up. Every year, my positive response rate has gotten up. I've had more awards, more productions. Why? Because I keep submitting. I don't submit the same amount every year. In fact, 2020 and 2021 were ridiculous. I like cut it in half in 2022 and I started being much more specific about the places that I was applying to. But I got a better rate of return. That's the other thing, is I'm much more meticulous about where I submit. So I wanted to show you this, and I wanted to show you that I really literally have been keeping track for the last 7 years, 6 years of where I've been submitting to and what I've been doing. And I even started at 2025 of where I want to submit stuff to. So I wanted to show you that. And the reason, like, let me just shoot over here to 2021. The reason why it's important to keep track year by year is um I want to know if I've applied to a festival in or competition or opportunity in the past. And this is why this is important. Um, Sometimes some competitions and submissions don't allow you to resubmit the same play twice. They're like, and they ask you, they're like, have you submitted to our opportunity in the past? I don't know, but my spreadsheet does. And I can do this wonderful little Control F and say, did I submit to the Tampa Bay Theater Festival? Did I? Let me check my entire workbook and see. Oh yeah, look, I did. In 2022, I did. I submitted this short play. Then I can keep track. Let me find where else, when else have I submitted? Oh, I submitted in 2023 and I submitted this other play. So it's important for you to know when you have submitted to this opportunity in the past, because sometimes they'll say, if you've won our festival, you're not eligible to submit anymore. Now you probably will remember if you won a festival, but some of them will say, hey, actually you can resubmit the same play. Have you done major revisions? Let us know. You can resubmit that play. Like I said before, those theaters are keeping track of you. So you need to keep track of when you've submitted it, because they'll ask, have you submitted to us before? And what did you submit to us before? Well, I don't have to remember. My spreadsheet remembers. And I can go back and say, yes, I've submitted to the Tampa Bay Theater Festival before. I submitted Conversations in the Car in 2018. And they can go, great, we remember you. And you submit something new. Or they'll say, are you submitting a play that you've already submitted? Has it had major revisions? Read the submission requirements, but keeping track of where you submitted in the past and what you submitted in the past is important, not just for you to keep track of, but sometimes they'll ask you outright. And they'll sometimes know if you're lying or don't remember, because they'll be like, we see here that you submitted in 2020 and you submitted that same play that you submitted. You're not keeping very good track of your stuff. So I know that I'm being really, really like disciplined and like type A personality about it, but it is important to keep track because they are keeping track and also they will ask you if you're keeping track. I'm going to stop sharing for a second there. Um, so we're going to get to another part. Who here hates spreadsheets? Othello's like, I don't want to see any more spreadsheets. All right. Well, I have a solution. All right. And it is the submission tracker to rule them all, to quote J.R.R. Tolkien and the 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 Lord of the Rings. So I'm going to share my screen here with you guys. If you're not a member of the Playwright Center in Minneapolis, I highly recommend it. Um, because if you're a member, it's about $70 a year. You can get access to this amazing submission tracker that they have. So I'm going to share my screen with you and show you this amazing submission tracker that they have. So hopefully you can see my screen. So let me take you to the first screen. So the Playwright Center is amazing. It's like the mecca of for playwrights. And they have programs that you can apply to. They have classes and resources, university credits. They have this whole list of opportunities for submissions that you can apply to. They're fantastic. They have articles that you can be part of. They have events that you can be part of. It's amazing. So they have in here these amazing opportunities, and you can bookmark them here, and then you can go to your bookmarks and you can see submissions that you bookmarked that you want to apply to. But they have this amazing thing called a submission tracker, and it's pretty great. You can up here in the beginning, you can add an item, and you can say, oh, this is an unlisted opportunity, right? This is just something that I found on the website. And I can say this is Florida Festival of New Plays. I'm just making that up, right? And I'm going to submit play X, and I'm going to submit it today. And I can put all of this information, and I can say that my status is I've submitted to it. You can put here, this is where I stole, well, not stole, but this they do the same thing I do. Date sent, when you expect a response, let's say June 1st, and if you received a response, when that response is received. I don't have that on my spreadsheet. You can add that to your spreadsheet of when did I receive a response. That's a great thing to add. I just have when the event is supposed to happen. So here in the status, I can say, hey, I've submitted. Follow up with literary manager. I'm going to give John Doe. And then any additional materials, I sent my resume, any additional notes you want to add, and then I can save it. And it's added. Oh, response is invalid. They don't like my way of doing it. I'm like, no, do it in our format. Here, we'll do it that way. There we go. So I can save. So now that's been added to the submission tracker, and it's here. Now, the cool thing is you can actually export these. You can print them out. You can make it into an Excel file, which is my favorite thing. But the nice thing about this submission tracker is that you can sort it very easily. You can sort it by submitted work. Like I've submitted across the Atlantic to a bunch of things, right? I can look at the sponsor, which in my spreadsheet is, the opportunity or the theater company, right? They have, I can sort it by the sponsor, I can sort it by the opportunity, I can sort it by the date sent, response expected, response received, the status of it, or if I need to follow up, right? So if you hate Excel and you rather have a good old fashioned form to fill out, you can do that. The other thing is that if you're in the Playwright Center, and let's say you want to, I'm just going to pick a submission opportunity here, and I want to, well, I actually already have that one in my submission tracker, so let's try a different one. Okay, I go to this opportunity for a 10-minute play, and I say add to submission tracker. Ooh, let me do it. There it is. It automatically populates the information for that submission, and I can just fill in the rest. So the submission tracker at the Playwright Center is the submission tracker to rule them all. I just have my system. I can't highlight this. I like highlighting. I like putting in other notes. I like having other things. But if you really, really hate spreadsheets, I highly recommend joining the Playwright Center, not just for the submission tracker, but for all the other opportunities that the Playwright Center has. They're fantastic. And there's so many resources there. Absolutely. Um, Let me see where we're at. Great. So I'm going to stop sharing for a second. Oh, I do have a question here. Oh, yes, there it is. www.pwcenter.org, playwrightcenter.org. And you can kind of see, I think, my tab up here, Playwright Center. Great. I'm going to stop sharing for a second. Cool. So some takeaways, and then I'm going to actually share with you a couple other websites that I find super handy about submissions. We're doing okay on time? Yeah, we're doing okay on time. So, some main takeaways from today. Tracking is a way to mark your success and your little wins. Take all the little wins. Little wins lead to bigger wins. And theaters do like winners, and that is measured in many different ways. And one of the biggest things I said today is showing up is how you win. So, what are the little wins? Every positive response you get. Like I said, positive responses for me are acceptances, an award, a response to a query letter, an interview, those kinds of things. And you can measure those little wins towards your growing and your learning and becoming better as a writer and better at submitting. I even consider rejection to be a little bit of a win because I realize an opportunity maybe isn't right for me, or I got feedback from my work, or I understand that, I'll just try again next year. Like those are all considered wins. And the reason I consider them all wins is because I'm tracking them. I'm submitting, I'm showing up, and I'm tracking them. And when I say that theaters like winners, I had a friend tell me this. They're like, theaters like winners, festivals, they like to accept other winners. Um, and a lot of times, you might need to submit a resume to show them that you're a winner in other ways, which I highly recommend. If you don't have a resume, please do that. It's a whole other workshop, but look them up, Google them, Google great samples of resumes. I also have some if you want a great sample of resume, I can send you one. But basically, when I say theaters like winners, it's a theater might say, oh, look, wow, Gretchen has submitted to this opportunity 5 years in a row, and her work has gotten better every year. We're seeing that she's growing. We're seeing that she's learning. We're seeing that she's becoming more successful in her writing. Maybe this is maybe this year is the year that we give her an opportunity. Like I said, they're tracking you. And so they want to see growth. Everybody likes to see growth. We like to see that things are getting better. Um, and tracking your own progress is important because if you don't track your own progress, who else is going to track it for you? Um, so for example, I talked about how in the beginning I used to submit to everything, and now I don't do that. I don't submit to everything. I'm a lot more judicious about what I submit to now because I've learned that some theaters and some opportunities are only grifting for money, or some opportunities are maybe not as beneficial to me as a writer as I thought they would be. Or I felt like I'm at a point where I want to do different things. Maybe I don't want to submit to a development opportunity. Maybe I want to submit to a residency. Maybe I want to submit to a fellowship. Maybe the opportunity for this show is different now. It's not necessarily to work with a dramaturg. Maybe it just needs to be up on its feet, So I've become more judicious, and I wouldn't have become more judicious if I hadn't gone through the process of tracking my growth and tracking my submissions and learning what the submission world is. But going through that is the only way you can really make those adjustments, those personal adjustments for what you need to learn to grow. Like I said, framing what a positive response is for yourself. You keep showing up, you're going to know what's positive for you, what's a learning, what's helping you develop as a better writer. Um, like I said before, showing up is so important. You don't win if you don't show up. You don't learn, you don't grow if you don't show up. And showing up means submitting. And if you keep showing up, I promise you that people are going to notice that you're showing up, that you have integrity, that you have discipline, that you have consistency, that you're persistent. If you keep showing up and doing the work, that is truly, I believe, how you win. So before we wrap up here at the end, I'm going to show you some submission opportunities, websites that you may or may not have known about. So I'm going to share my screen with you and share with you a few. The first one I'm going to share with you is nycplaywrights.org, which is a free website. They do not charge a fee, and they actually post things that do not require a fee. I believe all of their posts are for submission opportunities that don't require a fee. And you can sort based on the type of submission that you're looking for. Maybe you're looking for a fellowship. Maybe you're looking for ethnicity based or LGBTQ or grants and awards, or maybe you want to do a podcast play, or maybe, it's just really great because you can sort based on the opportunity type. NYC Playwrights, you can subscribe and they will send you an email every Saturday night that will tell you opportunities and things that are happening. So I absolutely recommend checking out um, that website. The other website, like I mentioned before, Playwright Center, definitely join. They're the mecca for playwrights. They have a bunch of stuff that you can look up. So definitely join the Playwright Center. Sorry, my screen is going a little wonky. I'm trying to look at my screen and it doesn't let me. Let me just make this smaller. You'll see that the next thing I want to say is the new play exchange. Othello, do you have new play exchange? No? So new play exchange is great because if you don't have a website, it's a great way for you to have an internet presence. I will say if you don't have a website, definitely get one. They're super helpful. But on New Play Exchange, it can be a place where you can put your bio, you can actually upload plays, and you can get recommendations for your plays. So, like for instance, I'm just going to go to this short play that I have called Watchmen. I've had people from all over the country, like 5 different recommendations from people that I don't even know really, except for Greg. I know Greg. Give recommendations for this play. You can also go in there and read other people's plays and recommend them. And a lot of times, New Play Exchange will have um, playwriting opportunities, submission opportunities that will come up. When you're in New Play Exchange, you will get an email saying, hey, your play is eligible for this submission opportunity. Go to New Play Exchange and submit. You can tag your play. The other cool thing about New Play Exchange is they'll usually feature writers and they'll feature plays. I've had that happen to me a couple times, which is like super nice to be featured. Um, and also, it's just a great way to connect. And it's super cheap. I think it's like literally $12 a year, like $1 a month. It's not expensive at all. And it's an easy, easy way to just have a presence on the internet if you don't have one. Um, Finally, as like I said before, the Dramatist Guild is amazing. I'm going to go to the Dramatist Guild. They have a calendar, which you can see here, that has a bunch of submission opportunities and when they're due. Basically, they have like March 1st, which already passed. This submission opportunity was due. So you can go to the Dramatist Guild if you're a member, and like I said, they have so many classes and events and amazing resources. I mean, between the Dramatist Guild and the Playwright Center, you can have like every submission opportunity possible. Um, Finally, I'm just going to talk a little bit about a few other places that you can look for submission opportunities. Social media. If you're not on Facebook, you're probably younger than me. But if you are, there are a bunch of groups for playwrights that you can join, for free because Facebook is free, to join that people will post submission opportunities. You can also Instagram, Reddit, basically any place a theater may have a presence on social media. Usually those theaters will post their submission opportunities, like Conch Shell Productions will post submission opportunities on Facebook and Instagram. You can follow those theaters and look for those opportunities along with any other specific groups. If you are in a writers group, those writers groups will usually have their own submission opportunities that they'll like let go to their members. Like I'm also part of the Latinx Playwright Circle, and they have like a spreadsheet that they send out to all their members on like Facebook Messenger that goes, hey, here are the submissions for this month. Remember to submit. And of course, you can go to theaters and their websites and see if those theaters have submission opportunities available. If you really, really love a certain theater, check them out, ask them, call them. Hey, are you open to new plays? Sometimes they are not receiving unsolicited work. There are a lot of professional theaters that will only accept work from writers that are represented by an agent, but sometimes they will have a small window. They'll say, in the month of May, we will accept 10 pages and a query letter from Georgia-based writers for this theater because this theater is in Georgia and we'll accept that. So just be aware of those theaters because unless you are represented, and then just tell your agent to submit for you. But if you're not represented, look for those opportunities, those windows to submit. Some of them will take unsolicited scripts, but most of them will only do it for a certain window of time. How do you find out about those windows? It'll be on their website. So on their website, they'll usually say, submit your work for playwrights, and they'll say, the month, like I know for a fact there's a theater in Florida that I have submitted to in the past that basically the month of June, they're like, we will accept 10 pages of a script, of a play script, and a query letter from unrepresented Florida writers. And it's just that month of June. That's the only time you can submit as an unrepresented writer. So definitely check out their websites. So I've been talking for a really long time. So we have a few minutes left. I'm wondering if we have any questions or there's anything that you want clarity on that I've talked about tonight, or do you just have questions about anything else? What is a query letter? Great. A query letter is when you are submitting a letter of inquisition, of a question, a query, where you're introducing yourself and you're saying, "Hi, theater company literary manager. I'm Gretchen Suárez-Peña. I'm an unrepresented, playwright in the state of Pennsylvania, and I want to know, I saw on your website that you are interested in doing children's theater. I have this, one act play for children that I would love to submit to you. This is the plot. This is the synopsis. This is the number of characters. I would look forward to talking with you further about this play." That's a query letter. And sometimes they will not respond, which is fine. Or they'll respond and say, "Thank you, but no thanks," and whatever, you move on with the life. Or sometimes they're like, "Oh, that's a very interesting premise. Please send us a sample of 10 pages." Or they'll say, "Oh, send us the full script. We'd love to read it." And also some websites actually have a place where you can submit a query letter just directly on their website. A length of a synopsis, I would say your query letter should be no more than a page. So depending on what other information you're going to put in, your synopsis should be maybe 150 words, 200 words. You maybe want to hit a couple of the quick plot points. My children's play is about this group of ragamuffin teens who save the world against the evil dark lord that is plaguing their city. And they run into a bunch of issues, and you kind of hit the main plot points. And then at the end, they realize that friendship is all that matters, or whatever, that sort of thing. So yes, query letters are great to get your name in the door. I've had some success with people remembering who I am because of query letters. So, yeah, that was a great question. Any other questions? People in the YouTubes. And I will say that if you want to get a hold of me, let's say you're staying up all night and you're like, "Oh man, I didn't understand that part," or "Why was Gretchen doing math?" You can email me at playsbygretchen@gmail.com, and you can look at me at gretchensuarezpena.com. That's my website, Gretchen Suarez-Peña, all one word.com, or playsbygretchen@gmail.com. Are there conventions for meeting theater litters who might produce your play? Yes. A lot of them are festivals. So, which is why it's really great to submit to festivals, because if you get invited to festivals, either if it's a reading or if it's a full production, you will meet artistic directors, you will meet literary managers. I've had the good fortune of being in grad school the last 2 years. Good fortune, that's saying a lot. I've been ridiculously busy, but the good fortune about being in grad school is that I was able to apply to the Kennedy Center American College Theater Festival. And by being at that festival, I was able to meet other people. So that's a great way. There's the Swanee River, the Swanee Writers Conference, which is a great conference that people go to where they meet other people. Go to every fringe festival you can attend. Basically, festivals and conferences are a great place to meet meet leaders, but those are part of that submission opportunity. Submit so that you can go, so that you can meet other people. Sewanee is Sewanee. It's in Tennessee, Sewanee, Sewanee. And it's a writers conference that happens every summer, and you can apply to go. I've never gone. I want to go. I've heard great things about it, but a lot of amazing people in the theater community go. And it's a little bit of a like summer camp, and you get to write and talk to other people and that's kind of things. I would look up residencies, fellowships. Those are great places to meet people too. I'm trying to think of any other places. Yeah, basically any theater festival you can attend, even if you're just attending as an audience member, go. Um, oh, thank you so much. Yeah, spreadsheets are great. Use your spreadsheets. Um, yeah, if anybody has any further questions, feel free to email me or let me know. And yeah, I've just been doing this for a hot second. So I just wanted to share that with all of you.
Thank you so much, Gretchen. I don't have any more questions coming at us online. And so, yeah, Gretchen just shared her contact information, and I provided you with her handle on Instagram. So you can always Instagram her. This is amazing, Gretchen. Very methodical way to approach the process. And, sometimes, as artists, I mean, I'm sure Othello and JR will agree. It's kind of hard to be methodical, but sometimes routine, like going to the gym and knowing to lift the weight 5 times, it's a routine, right? That allows you to have a process, right? So
Yes,
thank you for
yes.
sharing your process. That's really generous of you.
Yeah,
Um,
thank you for having me.
yeah, and so I want to thank everyone who attended on YouTube those who joined us in the room. And you have all of a few. Oh, wait. Diane said that this was really informative, and thanks so much for the insight. Awesome, awesome.
And she's going to
So
start using spreadsheets.
yes. So speaking of Diane, I want to give you a little heads up. Conch Shell Productions, if you've never met us before, as you saw in the opening video, our journey is sharing works written by Caribbean diaspora and Caribbean writers and playwrights and screenwriters. Just as Gretchen was saying, you need to submit. Gretchen, you submitted your play to us in 2020, and that's how we became like tight collabs. And so I just mentioned Diane. Next Friday, what's happening next Friday? Next Friday, we are presenting a Blue Light series reading of Diane's Step In on Holly Mistle's Toe, a screenplay reading on YouTube. So just go to our website, conchshellproductions.com, and register to join us and watch this amazing reading. And it's going to be directed by Marissa Joy Stamps next Friday, March 29th at 7 p.m. It's going to be fun. And unlike this event where you're able to view it on demand, if you're not available to watch right now, that won't be available on demand. So please budget in the time to join us. It's going to be fun. It's a really funny script, and it's a really, I know it's March, but hey, there's always time to have a really fun, funny holiday screenplay reading. And also, Gretchen is going to be curating our Conch Shell Productions co-reading series, and the deadline for submitting plays for consideration is in May. So go to our website once again for this free opportunity to get your full-length play considered for our co-reading series. And to learn more about that, once again, go to conchshellproductions.com. Finally, what are we doing in October? We are doing our film festival. So those of you who joined us and you're like, I don't do plays, I do screenplays. Well, Conch Shell International Film Festival will be in New York. And we'll also have on-demand screening online. But if you want to meet people, which is what these festivals are about, you'll be able to meet people face to face by joining us in October, October 10th to 13th, joining us in person and meeting other filmmakers, other writers, actors, and producers. And if you can't join us, being online with us, but definitely submit your work to be considered. We're considering screenplays. That's why I'm speaking to screenwriters. So there's a lot going on at Conch Shell Productions, and follow us on Instagram, Facebook. Yes, we do Facebook, and learn more. So Gretchen, you gave us quite a gift. How
Well,
do you
yeah.
feel? I mean, you should be like totally like, wow, I can't believe I did it. I can't
Yeah.
believe I did it.
Well, it's funny because I've done these kinds of workshops more informally with just like a group of friends because people are like,
Yeah,
how do you submit so much? And so this is the
yeah,
fourth time I kind of like presented it this way. So hopefully it was very clear and informative, but it is very methodical. I am an engineer brain, so I like to keep track and do math. But you gave some great submission opportunities. You got to keep showing up. So submit to the
yeah.
cold reading series. I'm going to be curating that event. Come to these other events. That's how you meet people. Like Magali said, I submitted to Conch Shell Productions and now we're besties.
Now we're besties. We're beyond besties. I mean, tell
Yeah.
them, you're a member of our board of
Yes.
directors, and you
Yeah.
know, let's just say you've got to be in it to win it. Hello, did she not say that? You've
You
got to
got to
be in
keep
it to
showing
win
up.
it. You got to keep showing up.
Yeah.
So peace and blessings to everyone. Have an amazing, amazing end of the week. And I can't wait to see your work. I can't wait to have you posting on Instagram or Facebook that, yes, I'm doing stuff. Thank you so much for joining us and have a great weekend.